Hello, it's me. Ooh, that was a bit of a hello. Ooh. Do you guys like those mouth noises? I can do more if you want. It's me, Voda. And you want to learn how to play Kled.
Holy shit, where are we?
Before we start though, I clearly need to address the elephant in the room. Guys, why is there so much porn of Kled? I mean, if you've been around the channel long enough, you know I typically do some, research into the R34 of whatever champion I happen to be doing, but I was not prepared for so much fucking Kled porn. Guys, need I remind you that there is nothing sexually appealing about this character? He's a fucking bipedal rodent. Listen, boys, girls, maybe even, if this makes you horny, please get help. I love our community. Gay furry porn aside, who is Kled? Well, Kled is a psychopathic crack-addicted axe-wielding redneck that rides into battle on a fucking lizard. Or, as he's better known in the lore,
I am Kled, High Major Commodore of the 1st Legion, 3rd Multiplication, Double Admiral, Artillery Vanguard Company! You will respect my authority!
God, I fucking love this character. Kled's one of those few champions that actually feels like he has a soul. Well, what do I mean by that? Take Jin for example. His design is very well done, his voice acting is beyond excellent, and every ability in his kit makes sense with his overall design. On top of that, if you care about lore, there's tons of it. Those same exact points also apply to Kled. But if we flip the coin and take a look at another champion, say Ahri, in my opinion, her kit is very stale, voice acting is boring, and character design is lazy, uninspired, and strictly created for the purpose of selling skins. So, what's my point here? Well, champions like Kled and Jin will never be cash cows for Riot in the same sense that Ahri or similar champions are. It's very rare nowadays that we get an experience as a champion, something that Riot actually put their passion into creating, something that feels like it fits perfectly into League of Legends. That is exactly what Kled is, a project crafted with care that somehow, thankfully, made it into the game. And it's absolute cancer like this that makes me appreciate Kled even more. Okay, let's get back on track here. Kled is a diver champion, meaning his only job is to start fights and fuck the ever-living shit out of the enemy ADC whenever he gets the chance. All of his damage is physical, which means you'll be focusing on building a lot of AD items in order to get the most out of his kit. Stat distribution is focused around, you guessed it, damage, but also movement speed. In lane, Kled plays very similarly to your abusive stepfather, constantly wanting to fight with no regard for his or anyone else's well-being. This is truly what differentiates good Kled players from trash ones. In my professional opinion, there is only one correct way to play Kled, and that is exactly how the champion is designed, as a homicidal maniac who has lost any and all grip on reality. Thanks to Kled's passive, dying is quite difficult. And considering how good his early game is, your one and only option should be to fight, and fight constantly you will. Even if it looks like you're losing, keep fighting. You aren't a bitch, are you? Chances are that Skaarl comes running back to you whilst you're on 2 HP and you can turn the fight around in your favor once more. I won't be discussing how to recover from a losing lane in this video, because if you've hard lost your lane, you might as well FF. Just try and get better, okay? But assuming you've shit-stomped your top laner and you've got a few kills, it's time to get some more. Kled has a very similar playstyle to someone like Sion. Your early game is very strong, your mid game is even stronger, but if the game goes on too long, you basically turn into a potato.
What was that? Oh, I should go for the Deca kill. If you say so.
So your best bet for closing out games is to help other laners with your ult. Get your teammates ahead with the extra gold you've procured from putting your enemy top laner into an assisted care facility, and snowball everyone as fast as you can. This strategy will win games 100% of the time. And again, if you lose, just get good. You see, when you select Kled top lane, the enemy team can only respond in two ways. They can draft a CC heavy comp with good target selection for their ADC, or they can dodge. A good Kled player will ruin your day, and better Kled players will actually show up at your house after game to uninstall League of Legends for you.
I'm gonna reach down your throat and turn your lungs into mittens!
You see, unlike champions such as Fiora, Darius, or Jax, I would argue that Kled's skill ceiling is much higher. His kit provides him with lots of carry potential, the only downside being that if you miss a combo or fuck up an important engage, you will be punished. Mastering Kled's dismount and courage mechanics will not only provide you with a full second of invulnerability, but also an unpredictable health steroid that will help you continue fights that seem like a loss. Now, whether said fights were a good idea in the first place isn't your decision to make. You're Kled. You go in no matter the circumstances. Assuming you're socially inept and couldn't see through some of my sarcasm and embellishments, here are the basic principles you should know if you decide to learn Kled. Number 1. Abuse your lane early to get a lead. Number 2. Use said lead to snowball your teammates. Number 3. Assuming 2 went well, force fights around or for objectives. Number 4. Prioritize squishy backline targets when you engage. And number 5. Win the game. Some of you might be wondering why I'm pushing you to play so aggressively on Kled, and I'm glad you asked. Gold star. The reason is quite simple. You cannot peel for your backline as Kled. First and foremost, you would be underutilizing your kit if you simply sat on your backline waiting to disengage. None of Kled's abilities are made for that. And secondly, Kled doesn't scale well enough into late game to justify that playstyle. The only thing that I can advise is going balls deep when the opportunity arises and hoping that the amount of chaos you cause is enough to outright win the fight or peel off the enemy front line from your backline. Alright, let's quickly go over runes and items because they're pretty straightforward as well. There's pretty much only one rune page for Kled. You want to run Conqueror into Sorcery second. This is a pretty universal page for most Kled builds. Alternatively, you can take Resolve over Sorcery for more tank stats, but that's ultimately up to you. Meta Slave Kled looks a lot like this, the core of your build being a Tiamat item, Black Cleaver, and Sterix Gauge. Items after that core are situational, much like any other champion, but running Death Stance or a Guardian Angel are both safe bets for any given game. The only thing to note on Kled is that first item is always Tiamat, and this is consistent through any variation of builds. The second build here is just for good old memes, but honestly, you can find some pretty ridiculous success assuming you're bold enough to try this. Easy enough, right? With all that being said, I'm sure you're itching to learn Kled's abilities and combos, so let's not waste any time. Starting off with the passive... Oh my god, okay, so there's a lot to digest here. I'll try to simplify things as best as I can, but if worse comes to worse, you can always consult these paragraphs. Kled has a lizard named Skaarl, and he rides Skaarl around. Both Kled and Skaarl have their own health bars, separate from each other. When riding Skaarl, you have access to all of your abilities with no penalties at all. However, when Skaarl's health is depleted, you are booted off him in a quick sequence that grants you invulnerability for half a second and cleanses any CC that may have been on you before Skaarl ran off. Once this sequence ends, you lose access to your E and Alt, and your Q ability is changed. Kled suffers a massive loss in movement speed when dismounted and can only deal 80% of his usual auto attack damage. Kled does, however, gain bonus movement speed towards enemy champions while dismounted and has the ability to regain Skaarl. This mechanic is called Courage. Killing minions, hitting enemy structures, or damaging enemy champions will give you Courage back. And once you've reached maximum Courage, Skaarl returns to Kled with some of his health back. Remounting Skaarl also resets the cooldown of your Q and E. This passive seems incredibly complicated, but I promise you that once you play it, it feels very natural and quite simple to learn. Moving right along to Kled's Q, it has two parts as mentioned in the passive. Firstly, we have Bear Trap on a rope. While mounted on Skaarl, you throw out a chain trap that deals damage and attaches to the first champion hit. Once attached, a radius circle begins to close around you and the target. Assuming you're still in radius when the ability procs, Kled will pull the attached champion slightly towards him, dealing more damage, applying grievous wounds, and slowing them for a short time. The second part of his Q is called Pocket Pistol. While dismounted, Kled can shoot his pistol that fires 5 pellets in a cone. The blast of this ability knocks Kled back a short distance, and depending on how many pellets hit a target, the more damage you deal and the more courage you gain back. Q also has an ammo system that can stock 2 charges, and the Q blast can move you over walls. His W is Violent Tendencies. This ability is unaffected by mounting or dismounting, aside from the aforementioned debuffs received when dismounted. If this ability is off cooldown and you auto-attack something, Kled enters a frenzy that causes his next 4 basic attacks to have bonus attack speed, and the 4th auto in this chain deals additional attack damage. Kled's E is Jousting, unavailable for use when dismounted, but while mounted you dash forward a small distance and deal a bit of damage. If you E through an enemy champion, you will be able to reactivate this ability to dash through them again. And finally we have Kled's ult, Charge. Only available while mounted, Skaarl and Kled charge towards a target location, slowly gaining movement speed while being immune to CC. Along the path of the charge, Kled will gain a shield based on distance traveled, and if an enemy champion is in the path of charge, Skaarl will attack the first champion in range, colliding with them, dealing damage and knocking them back a little bit. Kled also leaves a draft behind his ult path that boosts the movement speed of allies and yourself for a short time. Okay, lots of information to process with this champion, but everything becomes much more self-explanatory once you play him, I promise. And speaking of playing him, let's go over his base combo to get you well on your way to being a crack-addicted squirrel. Firstly, you want to be in range to E your target. Once you cast E, throw out your Q at the same time. After Eing through the target, get all of your W-empowered autos out, and then as the 4th auto connects, E through your target again. Super simple, right? Kled's combo isn't too difficult to perform, but certainly requires a lot of practice to get that EQ connection perfect every time. This exact same combo applies when you use your ult, obviously just using your ult beforehand. Alright, those are the basics. You have everything in your possession now to perform miracles on Kled. Before I close out today's video, I want to give a big shout out to the Kled main subreddit and their Discord for the immense amount of information they provide. If you still have any questions about the champion after this video, feel free to check out their resources. They're all great people over there, and honestly, the Kled mains community is definitely S tier in the hierarchy of League main subreddits. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're new here, please consider checking out the rest of the channel and subscribing. It would mean a lot. And we also have a community Discord for those interested in getting more involved with my content. But anyways, that's all for me. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.